Now it gives me great pleasure talking about how Watson is providing real ROI for marketers. Please welcome on stage, give a warm welcome for Rashmy Chatterjee, CMO North America for IBM.
Good afternoon. Well, thanks for the time. And I'm Rashmy Chatterjee. I run marketing and communications for North America for IBM. I'm here to talk to you about ROI from AI. I'm a user, so I'd like to share some of that. But before we go into ROI and before we go into details, I want to share a little story to provide context. So in IBM's 107-year-old history, there have been 3 times that we have declared a point of view of where we believe our industry is going. Sorry, give me 1 minute. I think I'm fine. So there's 3 times in the last 107 years that we've declared a point of view where the industry is going, and we brand that point of view. So it's not the same as marketing and branding a product. It's not the same as branding our capabilities. It's branding our belief in what's happening in the industry. The first time was 1995. The internet had just started. There was a lot of discussion about where will this internet go, what will it do for us. It was really seen more as a content. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It was seen as a content repository. At that time, IBM said that we believe that in this industry, the internet is going to become the platform for business. We branded that belief e-business. That was 95. In 2005, technology was sort of well integrated into business, a lot of discussions about server types, OS, computing capability, transacting capability, server sizes, speed, et cetera. At that point, IBM came up with our second branded point of view, and it was called Smarter Planet. We said that it isn't about technology, it isn't about computing, it's about business. Business is going to be technology, and business is going to use technology to create smarter planets. And we use that to extend the conversation with governments, with not just, so far, IT had been very much technology. The discussions were the IT realm. We talked to CIOs, talked to IT managers. But when we talked about Smarter Planet, it became a CEO discussion. It became about, what does this mean for my business? How will it make me grow? How will it make me improve margins, et cetera? So that was Smarter Planet in 2005. And then the year before last, we launched our third branded point of view in the market. And I want to give a little context before we go into a little bit more detail on Watson. The reason we launched this point of view is we felt that there were 2 conversations happening in the market. Very unique time, and it was a convergence of 2 conversations. The first conversation was top-down. It was coming down from CEOs and from chairmen of the board, and they were all talking digital, digital disruption, got to digitally transform, be digital or be out. You've heard all of that. You've heard that conversation coming from every C-suite about we need to become a digital company. And you can see the numbers that have been invested by businesses in becoming digital. But more importantly, there's a second conversation that's going on, that's going individual up. So top down, bottom up. And that conversation is best reflected in our pop culture. So if you see, it's a conversation that's changing. If you think back a few years, very often the positioning was man versus machine. Man fights with machine and wins, and man against machine. And you're seeing that conversation change. You're seeing the conversation change to becoming much more about man and machine. How do man and machine work together? Machine being the assistant, machine being the support system, machine being the helper for human beings. You're also seeing some other conversations, which, fear, threat. But what you're seeing more and more is this conversation which says, I need the support that machines provide me to live my life in a more fulfilled manner. And that is driving a huge investment. That's why we are all here today, right? That's a lot of what we're talking about in terms of AI. So 2 convergence, And what in IBM we believe is that this convergence of digital business with the bottom-up digital intelligence, the huge amount of data and intelligence that's coming up as every individual uses their cell phones all the time, that heralds a new era. We call it the cognitive era. And that has been our third branded point of view in the market. So a little bit of context there, because you hear artificial intelligence. I actually don't like the word artificial intelligence. It's not artificial at all. You hear machine learning. We call it cognitive. And I'll share a little bit about why cognitive. But what happens? Like, what is this new cognitive era? What is it built on? What's the natural resource that drives it? It's data. You know this. I'm sure you've heard about this a lot of time before, but you can see it in every industry: healthcare, banking, retail, transportation. What is driving this new era is loads and loads and loads of data. And it's transforming. The winners and the losers are separated by their ability to utilize data. What you'll also see is that by industry, data is having an impact on how industries are designing their business processes, the leaderships that they're putting in place, all around the fact that the data is going to grow. The challenge here is that only 20% of this data is structured. It can be used by computers. 80% of the data exists in computers but cannot be used. Cannot be used by computers. And big chunks of it are things like images. So it's not, we often think about unstructured data as sort of what's in the social media, tweets, posts, that too. But a big chunk of it is images. It's photographs, it's X-rays, it's videos. A lot of it is in the social media. There's a lot of it in sounds, music, tones, accents, conversations. A lot of that stored in computers, but totally not being used to really enable the transformation that businesses are looking for. So hearing this sort of not congruent conversation, one form, it's about you got to transform the business digitally because there's huge amounts of data. The other side, which says, yeah, but where and how quickly? And that is where we believe that the ability to transform industries is going to come by our ability to really use this unstructured data. And how do we do it? The first step is we do it through partnerships. So over the last 3 or 4 years, you've seen a few. We announced big partnership with Apple, Facebook, Twitter, most recently with Salesforce.com. Our 2 biggest acquisitions in the past few years have been the weather company and Merge Healthcare. Merge Healthcare, as many of you know, is the big, largest owner of medical data, imaging data. So why? That weather company, it's all about data. Healthcare, Merge is all about data. So that's the first step, which is really start partnering so we can start looking and collecting this unstructured data. The second one, which is the one you're more familiar with. So you can see 80% of the world's data is invisible, and we are leading that effort of capturing unstructured data under Watson. And this is where I come to why we call it cognitive. Because what Watson does is URL. Watson understands the data, Watson reasons, and Watson learns. So it's a cycle. It takes huge amounts of unstructured data, understands it, uses the data to lay out hypotheses, says that, look, these are the 5 answers, or these are the 100 answers. Against each of the hypotheses, it will give you a confidence probability. So, hypothesis 1, I'm 68% confident of my hypotheses, and these are the 4 next steps that you could strengthen or weaken the hypotheses with. And then in that interaction of what you do next, in the interaction of the dialogue with human beings, it actually starts learning and goes back to the URL, understand, reason, learn. Now, as a marketing leader, I struggle with, we've created a really great presence in the market with Watson. It is our lead into cognitive business. But very often, yesterday we were with a set of investors. Many of them will ask, how do I get Watson? Can Watson do this for me? What do I need to do to buy Watson? So Watson is, firstly, it's a brand. It's not a product, it's a brand. Second is, what does that brand stand for? It It stands for capabilities and technologies that focus on unstructured data. It's cloud-based, and it exists with 50 APIs. Each different API. So when you first heard of Watson in 2008 with Jeopardy, that time it had only one API. It was called a question and answer API. Since then, we've come a long way. So today, Watson can see. It has the ability to capture images and understand them and reason and learn. It can hear. It can speak 16 languages, and it can understand different accents and tones. It can understand personalities. It can understand whether you're an extrovert or an introvert based on your data. And you can see there's 50 different APIs that Watson is working towards. So what does this mean for our conversation today, which is about marketing, which is about ROI? One outcome it has is the expectation as you use unstructured data, your ability to engage with customers is going to be unprecedented. And I just say this because the beginning, it's sort of the tip of the arrow. We've just started utilizing what is, with Watson API, starting to understand the data to really personalize customer engagement. And it's deep personalization, but it's also staying with the customer. It's a relationship. So everything becomes relevant to me, the individual. Every dialogue, every digital interaction, every engagement is relevant to me as an individual and stays with me through the journey. As a marketing, in marketing, for instance, today, everything we do, we don't just talk about campaigns and the revenue. We talk about how we're spending money to engage with clients and how we're creating the journey. How are we creating the journey to take that client to proficiency? How will that customer stay with me today and tomorrow and 10 years from now when they have different business problems? And that becomes possible because you're getting to a level of personalization. So, NET is, in IBM 3 times, we have branded our point of view, our beliefs. Today, we believe we are entering a very unique era, which is the cognitive era. We're working this, it's all built on our ability to unleash the power of data. We call data the new natural resource. We are doing it with partnerships. We're doing it with Watson. Watson is cloud-based API, a set of APIs that works on the data. So I'm going to give you a few examples, and then I'm going to hand over to Michelle, who will actually show you how it works in a very simple manner. So one example here is Bank of Montreal. Now, every bank is thinking about this, right? How do I go from a branch-based banking system to a digital bank? Easier said than done, because digital banking is easy to do when you're focusing on transactions. The real challenge is how do you acquire new customers? How do you do new customer acquisition? How do you attract the right people? How do you complete the entire process of onboarding, verification online? This is where we work with Bank of Montreal. And you can see some of their improvement. Of the people we targeted, 50% conversion onto 50% people of those clients converted and opened accounts with Bank of Montreal. And this is sort of 3 pillars. It's our Watson customer engagement, the group Brady's there, Michelle. That's the group that focuses on customer engagement. We do this with our services on interactive experience. So you create the engagement, but then how do you create an experience that's delightful? And it's all built on design thinking. So Bank of Montreal is one example. Another example is Macy's. So we're piloting this with 10 Macy's physical stores. I mean, all of you know today, in our lives, the big thing that's a premium is time, right? So you go to a new store. Every time you go to a new store, you don't know the layout, you don't know the organization, can't find the assistant. So what we're doing here is, it's called Macy's on Call. We're piloting it in 10 stores. But basically, the moment you go in on your phone, you get a layout. You get the idea of where things are. You can search for arrangement. You can figure out if they have your size. You can figure out if they don't have this particular brand, is there any other brand that is similar that you could work with? And you can also request a face-to-face support person to come to you. So, again, you can see simplifying, delighting the customer, making that experience, making things that matter to them, time matters, making that work better in their favor. Another example is, we're very excited about this, actually. We had a big public launch for this. This is Watson Supply Chain. This is the ultimate supply chain where it's going. The idea of, as you run out of supplies, You just press, it's called the easy button. You press the easy button, triggers off the supply chain. And then again, like with Watson, everything you talk about will be, it takes the data, processes it, but at all times, it's reasoning and it's learning. So the next time, the loop becomes that much faster, that much more effective. Many such examples. I gave one example here of Bridgewine, which is very much around what we do. It's a media company, but they were running marketing campaigns, wanted to understand really how do I go to the right cohort to get the best ROI. Now, in the past, when you did marketing, you had a very simple approach to cohorts. You kind of said gender, age, marital status, income, zip code. It means nothing. Today, in today's world, it means nothing. So what we do with Watson is really use this unstructured data, use our partnerships to get a much fuller profile. We use the API called Personality Insights, and there are many more, natural language. Start understanding, so what is this person like? What kind of interests do they have? Are they extroverted, introverted? Are they hedonistic? Are they fond of hiking? Where do they love clothes? What kind of clothes? Is it athletic wear or formal wear? What is this person's interests? And that's when you start creating this new level of engagement. You understand then where best to advertise. I mean, there's billions of money that's spent on advertising. You understand then what are the right offers to put forward to people. And you can see a 300% increase in conversions from a response, from a traffic that came into this site to actually what converted into a lead. Very big numbers. Many more examples like this. Homebase is in the UK. It's a home and garden retailer. And they used, again, Watson marketing solutions with natural language, with personality insights, targeting clients carefully. And then really they have spent a lot of effort trying to understand how to build a relationship. So if you're buying gardening tools, then you build in the eminence on what plants grow in the shade? What time should I be taking them in? So now you're setting up a relationship. This is when man and machine starts working together. You're constantly going to them, not to ask a question, get an answer, but to actually start having a dialogue. And another example is Motorcycle Superstore. Very simple problem. They had great online traffic. Search engine was great. They were getting the traffic in, not converting. Something was blocking it. So again, using the Watson capabilities, using personality insights, using our deep analytics, really trying to understand what are the blockers, and one by one starting to say, this is the profile that you're looking for, this is what they seek, and this is where they get put off. This is where they sort of dismiss this experience because it's not delightful. So that's some of the examples that we're using Watson with in supply chain, in marketing, really trying to harness this huge amount of unstructured data, not just that exists today or used by computers, but that exists in computers but not used. Images, sounds, music, tones, personalities, obviously whatever is in social media, start building that, trying to understand the person better, the individual better. And you'll see this in retail with customers, but you see it in schools. We're doing a lot with schools on individualized children education, because each child needs a personalized approach. They're doing a lot with healthcare to understand each patient responds differently. So it becomes about the individual, becomes about personalization. And that's what, as we start doing more and more, as more and more of these APIs expand, the ability to do that, to hear the sounds and the music, to see, to hear, to understand emotion. One of the exciting things we've done is we've actually done a trailer. We've done trailers with film companies by Watson understanding the recognition. So you run through the whole movie, and Watson understands at what time your interest peaks. And then that compresses into a trailer. So that is most effectively collecting your biggest reaction to a 2-hour-long film. So some of the examples of some of the ROIs that all of these are publicly referenced customers who've spoken with us. And I'll hand over to Michelle, who actually will show you how it works. And it's not complicated, and it's exciting.
All right. Thank you. OK, so when we talk about Watson, what do we want, right? We talk about cognitive computing. And Rashmy talked about the fact we want folks, we expect this, right? We want folks to know me. They want us to want to educate me, grow, respect my time. Think of it almost as a relationship, right? We're dating. And in addition to that, context really matters. People behave differently, whether they're at home or in work or they're on the road. And so being able to pull that context is key, all right? And that's what we're bringing to the table. And then if we look at all of the different data sources where we pull information, one of the things that we bring to the table is you don't have to pull that into a data warehouse. We make a connection to where that data is located. And we're the super glue, if you will, that ties all that together. So we have behavioral data, descriptive data, we have email, certainly attitudinal data. This is where some of those Watson APIs can fit in. And then we apply predictive models to figure out what is the right next best action, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So what you'll see in the demo is a very simple example of a conversation with a chatbot. It's actually real time, calling out to Watson and calling a predictive model, and then that's what's driving the offer. And then, like Rashmy said, we can add additional Watson components. We can add natural language. We can add things like tone analyzer, like sentiment. All right, and these are just plug and play, right? And they are all up in the cloud. And then if you've seen the movie Inside Out, right, where it talks about anger and joy, those are some of the emotions that we can pull from the Watson API. So you can get started today. So let's go ahead and show you that without further ado. The first thing you'll notice is, again, this is live. So this is up on Bluemix. Let's see if we see that. All right, let me close this out. Why is it not showing? It's not switching my window. All right. Huh. Okay. Seems like it's stuck in. Let's go to here. Can you have it switch the window? It's like it's. Yeah. Right there. Yeah. And now will it switch over? Yeah. Yep. All right. Okay, so the first thing, like I was saying, and we'll keep it very quick, is the fact that this is up on Bluemix, all right? And this is calling a particular Watson conversation. And the first thing is that we enter in a phone number. And we'll go ahead and we'll enter in this phone number. This is super quick. And it says, hello, Jill, I'm Watson. How can I help you? It understands all the different interactions that Jill has had with this system. And Jill says, my child is going to college, I need a new car. And it understands children, right? It understands children versus son versus daughter. And it gives us an offer. Test driving, $50 coupon, $1,500. Where it came and got that information is from the predictive model that's running in real time. So here we have the propensity to accept, the propensity to churn, that's why that's a good offer. And the predictors that it's using are the entity, the gender, the intent of this conversation. That's coming from Watson. So then she might say, yes, that sounds good. And when we say we send that, what you'll notice is that when I run that predictive score, it's now gone from 80 to 70 in real time as we're interacting with the system. If a different person comes in and puts in a different phone number, before it was Jane, now it's Jill, and she asks the same question, you'll notice that she gets a different offer. And that offer is $30 instead of $50 and $500. And again, the reason is that her churn score is lower, okay? So again, being able to customize that, and I thought I would show you one last thing, is it can be as easy as a child's toy. So this is a toy that's powered by Watson. It was 12 guys in New York.
Good afternoon, Michelle. I hope you are having a good day. What would you like to do today?
Ask a question.
Okay. What would you like to know?
What is the meaning of life?
42. Just kidding. The meaning of life is to give your life meaning.
All right. So this is a toy that's powered by Watson, 12 guys in New York. This is a Kickstarter project, but it's actually using Watson to go ahead and educate children. So that's how easy it can be, is this is a Cognitoy to use this technology. We really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.